You won't believe what happened to this family's 2-year-old son. After discovering he had contracted bacterial meningitis from daycare, his mother Kathleen Lansing rushed him to the hospital, but then the situation worsened. Their son eventually required a ventilator for pneumonia and a constricting throat, but Kathleen and her husband George remained strong in their faith by praying and accepting they would likely be giving their son to God. Their ventilator-intubated son was on the verge of death, and so they decided to visit him one last time in his room. As they were both praying for healing, their son's chest began to jerk and he started convulsing. Nurses and doctors rushed in, shutting the blinds in front of Kathleen and George. After what seemed like an eternity, they peeked through the cracks in the blinds, and instead of seeing their dead son, they saw 2 doctors laughing next to him. How could they be laughing? Well, when the doctor came out to report, he had what he described as miraculous news. Their son's lungs were clear, and he was now breathing on his own.
I've never ever seen anybody declared dead that has come back to life.
What happened to Jeff Markin is incredible. Not feeling too well on the morning of September 20th, 2006, Jeff recalls leaving to go to work, but didn't recall driving to the hospital that morning. Upon arriving to the emergency room, he collapsed from a massive heart attack. After 40 minutes of efforts by the medical staff and shocking him dozens of times, Jeff was officially declared dead. But as cardiologist Chauncey Crandall walked out of Jeff's room, he heard a voice say to him, "Turn around and pray for this man." At first he ignored it because he knew for sure Jeff was gone, but then he heard it again and decided to honor the voice. He walked back into the room and prayed for Jeff, asking God to raise him from the dead. And then, against medical protocol, Dr. Crandall instructed the team to shock Jeff's heart one more time. And that's when the unthinkable happened. Jeff's heartbeat returned instantly, and he fully recovered with 0 heart problems or complications. You won't believe what happened to this family's 2-year-old son. When Mason Ikirt fell ill with pneumonia, his parents, Debbie and Steve, thought it was just going to be the usual illness. But then something terrible happened. Mason's condition deteriorated fast, leading him to having 12 strokes and severe kidney failure. Then they heard from doctors what every parent fears the most. Mason had a non-treatable condition known as hemolytic uremic syndrome, and his chances of survival were very slim. But despite the dire situation, Mason's 4-year-old sister Brooke quoted this Bible verse to her grandmother one day in the hospital.
"Ask anything in his name and it shall be done."
And that's when something remarkable happened. Mason's kidneys miraculously started working again, but he still faced significant challenges, including blindness and difficulty moving and speaking. But after significant rehabilitation, Mason miraculously made a full recovery, and this is what one of his doctors said about it afterwards.
From a stage that I thought would be practically a vegetable state was what I would have expected. To see him today, it's nothing short of a miracle.
This is Loryn Smith. During her early adult years, she and her husband Thad had a calling from God to adopt and foster children. And to their surprise, God had sent them 14 kids over the course of their journey to take care of, many of which had very troubled backgrounds. But they hit a roadblock along the way. Her husband was diagnosed with terminal pancreatic cancer and was told he had 6 weeks to live. With Loryn struggling to figure out how she would take care of the kids on her own, she turned to God once again for guidance. Then the unexpected happened. During a routine procedure to relieve some of her husband's pain from the cancer, the doctor noticed something he couldn't explain after all his years of practice. Thad's tumor had miraculously disappeared, and he is still alive to this very day.
I'm lucky to be alive.
You won't believe this incredible survival story of 12-year-old Kaylee Hardig. After spending all day at a water park in Arkansas, Kaylee's parents had to rush her to the hospital due to severe headaches and nonstop vomiting. That's when doctors gave them the terrible news. Kaylee had contracted brain-eating amoeba through her nose at the water park, a condition only 2 others had ever survived in North America. As such, the doctors didn't expect her to live longer than 48 hours, as her brain was swelling at a rapid pace. But her parents never gave up hope, praying to God frantically for her to recover. Then after 2 weeks in the hospital, the unthinkable happened. Kaylee's brain swelling mysteriously stabilized, and after 8 weeks in the hospital, she miraculously became the 3rd survivor to fully recover. Her doctor Matt Lenham's only explanation for her survival is due to God's grace, and this is what Kaylee's mother had to say afterwards.
I feel like my prayers have been answered, that it's just a miracle.
If you enjoyed watching these incredible miracles, then be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and God bless you all.